Hi, Gulsana. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting this set of essays for you today. Let's take a look straight away and see what you wrote here. This is the essay about international marketing, and here's what you wrote. Although it is sometimes thought that international marketing has invasive and intrusive effects on the countries, other people believe that it is crucial for the developing economic knowledge, similarly expanding different ideas and increasing awareness of language and culture. In my opinion, global marketing contributes to the development of various spheres of an economy with the help of sharing knowledge and cross-cultural communication with nationalities from other countries. Okay. I like this quite a bit, actually. You use some nice complex grammar. You've rephrased the topic. You included your position. And so all of that's very good. I want you to be careful with this, developing economic knowledge. Now, I'm assuming that you're trying to rephrase this. But here is something, this gives us an opportunity to talk about something important. And it's the difference between economical and economic. If you're not sure what the difference is, look them up. They do have a different meaning. And this is interesting because it's one of the ways IELTS is indirectly testing your vocabulary. So be careful about this and make sure you're using the right word. All right. I do have one concern that I'm going to tell you. Okay. My concern is that if you look at your paragraphs, your body paragraphs are the same length as your introduction. And that for me is a red flag. It means that either you wrote too much in your introduction or you have not developed your body paragraphs enough. You see, your introduction should be something written very efficiently. You shouldn't spend too much time on it. You shouldn't write too much on it. What you really want to do is spend your time and your effort developing your body paragraphs, because that's what's going to help you get to a higher task achievement score. Your introduction needs to essentially introduce the topic by paraphrasing what's in the prompt and then giving your position. And that's it. Okay. And so while you did that, I'm wondering if maybe you could have maybe condensed this down a little bit. Or like I said, maybe this needs a little more development. But let's actually see what you wrote. On the one hand, in some cases, international marketing directly influences local cultural and ethical norms. Because of a significant difference between countries in terms of religious beliefs and lifestyles. That's not a full sentence. This is just a fragment. So careful. It should have just gone to the previous sentence. For instance, when companies from Western countries launch their products or services to a new market without adapting their promotion strategies, it diversely affects people's traditional ways of thinking about certain things, such as a way of dressing or moral norms of behavior in society. Okay, perfect. This is exactly what I was talking about. It's just not developed enough. It's a paragraph that has essentially two sentences, because this should have been one sentence and then this would have been another sentence. And that's not a paragraph. Okay. A paragraph needs to have general rule of thumb is around 5 sentences. Okay. Where you have a topic sentence that introduces a central idea. You have a main idea, support for that main idea, and sometimes additional support, additional main idea, and additional support. Okay, but this felt really underdeveloped to me. Like it needed more. It needed to be rounded out. It needed to be developed a little more. Okay. And another thing is, when I read this, I didn't know if you were talking about the positives or the negatives, and so this is why a clear topic sentence is so important. So you needed something like clearly international marketing has numerous disadvantages. Okay, something like that. So your reader can orient him or herself to what this paragraph is about. It's like, oh, okay, this is about the negative side. So we need to know that, because I couldn't get that until I got like much, much further down. Okay. And another thing that I wanted to mention is that I think there's a vocabulary mistake here. I don't think you mean diversely affects. I think you mean it adversely affects, which would have made more sense here, would have been more appropriate in this context. Okay. So with this incorrect word, it's actually hard to understand what you're talking about. Is it positive? Is it negative? None of this is really clear here, so you really have to be careful. Let's look at the next paragraph. On the other hand, local companies and consumers might learn something new from foreign partners. In general, it would change the traditional way of doing business. In other words, sharing knowledge and experience would probably be helpful for local brands to improve their marketing or distribution strategies. Okay, why? How? Moreover, global marketing could result in increased competition among companies, which encourages companies to make the price of their products or services more affordable and high quality higher. Okay. What about culture? What about ideas? Let's see. No, you gave me ideas. Let's see. Improving strategies. Fine. And then increased competition. But what about all of this here? Languages and culture. There's nothing about this. Yes, economical form of education, spreading ideas. Nothing about these two. Maybe you needed to include those. I felt like you just focused on that one section about it being an economical form of education, and you should have mentioned some other things as well. All right, so in conclusion, despite the negative aspects of international marketing, including the invasion uh, into other cultures and lifestyles, I believe that with the help of global marketing, innovative ideas and helpful knowledge might be exchanged and adapted to a particular culture. Okay, that's nice. So there's definitely some good things happening in your writing, but it needs some work, especially for the band score that you said in your email that you need. It needs to be improved in all the areas that I talked about. So that's something I want you to think about. Okay. Now let's see. Do we have your task one here? No, I think it's in a separate file. So let me get that out. Okay. So you just had to submit a bar chart. There's a lot of data here. About 18 pieces of data. No, not 18, 17 pieces of data. So let's see what you wrote here. By the way, they're usually called bar charts. So we call them pie charts, bar charts, and then we call them line graphs. Let's see what you wrote. Okay, 152 words. Let's see. The bar chart illustrates the unemployment rate in several Asian countries in the years 2012, 13, and 14. Overall, most of the countries experienced an increase in the unemployment rate in 2014, and the highest level of unemployment was recorded in the Philippines and India during all periods. Let's see. Philippines and India. Okay. And then you said that an increase in 2014. Okay. Experience an increase. Well, that's really only true for half of them, isn't it? So it's true here, here, and here. But here it declined, and here it declined. So when it's only true in 50% of the cases, you probably shouldn't mention it in your overview. What you could have said instead was something different. You could have said overall unemployment fluctuated over the 3 years in question, but Philippines, and you know what? Maybe you could have done this. Philippines had the highest unemployment and Thailand had the least. Okay, rather than just focusing on those top two. So that's something you could have done, and that would have been, I think, maybe a stronger overview. All right. According to the graph, the figures for the unemployment rate in the Philippines and India were much higher than in other countries, around 5.2 and 5.90. Let's see. 5, where are you? 5. When is this? All right, I'm a little confused about this because what year are you talking about? You've got 3 different years here. So this isn't particularly helpful. Are you talking about 2012? I mean, when is it? Hold on a second. So Philippines is okay in 2014, and in India, when is it? 520. Okay. So, all right, what you did here was not particularly helpful, Gulsana, because it looks to me at least like you're referring to two different years here. So Philippines, you're talking about 2014. India, you're talking about 2013. And so this statement is really unclear and it's not particularly helpful. The other thing that you didn't do is you didn't use the word respectively. So I don't know if this 520 belongs to India or if it belongs to the Philippines. All right, but either way, I would encourage you not to do it like this. We'll talk about some suggestions about how you can do it, but right now I can tell you this is probably not the best way to organize this. Okay, the unemployment rate in the Philippines dropped a little, while in India it rose sharply in 2013. Okay, but you're not giving me any figures. China and Japan showed an upward trend in unemployment and reached more than 4.00 in 2014. Okay, but I don't know where it started, so that's not particularly helpful. In contrast, the percentage of unemployed people in Singapore decreased gradually after 3 years from 2 to slightly under 1.5. Okay, Thailand was the only country that showed zero unemployment in 2012, and they maintained the lowest unemployment level of just over 1 in the last year. Okay, so this was 152 words, and it felt like it. And the reason I say that is because I felt like there was a lot of information that you could have included and you didn't really. First of all, you decided to use one paragraph for your details. Would not have done that. I would encourage you to use two detailed paragraphs. Now, in a graph like this, in a chart like this, there's a lot of different ways to organize. I think because you don't have a clear, how can I say this? There's not like a clear halfway mark, like maybe Japan, but maybe not. I think what I would have done is I would have taken Philippines and India and then probably, well, there's a bunch of different ways you could do it. All right, essentially, you're going to have to do 4 and 2. What do I mean? You could talk about Philippines, China, Japan, and India in one paragraph, and then separately talk about Singapore and Thailand. Or you can talk about Philippines, India, Singapore, and Thailand. So, in other words, the highest and the lowest. All right, so 2 different ways to do that. I think better grouping would probably be done by taking these 4 together. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so what I would have done is Philippines started the period in 2012 with the highest unemployment rate of 5.5, decreasing slightly the next year, only to rise to close to 6 at the end of the period. Second in terms of unemployment was India with just under 5. And after an increase the following year, decreasing slightly. And then, let's kind of group these guys together, shall we? So let's say that, like this, China showed a steady increase from 4 to approximately 425, which interestingly is the same figure that Japan had in 2014. However, in the 2 previous years, its figures were between 3 and 350. And then you're done with that paragraph. Then you can go to a paragraph about Singapore and Thailand. And you can say the lowest unemployment was found in Thailand after showing zero unemployment in 2012, or you could say after not having any figures for 2012, it remained around 1.25, whereas Singapore's figures decreased from 2 to 1.5 over the period. Done. That's it. Okay, so that's how I would organize this. I don't know if it's helpful. I hope so. But yeah, definitely get into the habit of doing 2 detailed paragraphs and see what you can group together. Like I said, this was one of the 2 choices you could have made, or you could have done it the other way I suggested. So Gulsana, I hope we can see more work from you. I think we can help you improve. I hope you found this helpful. So let's see how we can continue to work together. You'll get a link with different options regarding working with us. Okay. So thank you for sending this in, and I hope we get to see more work from you soon. Good luck.